Hey guys, it's Brad with Traffic Talk, and I'm talking to you later. How's it going? Good to see you guys. So the last couple of videos we talked about early career development, going from an intern to an hourly position, and then I ended up bluffing my boss from an hourly position to a salary position for a couple of juicy salary raises. Talked about how to bring value to the company. Talked about in depth on specifically how to bring value to your specific team, to your boss. Talked about the importance of quote unquote playing the game, understanding how to say what to who, when, and really thinking about what's important to these people inside and outside your company. All of that matters with career advancement. So the next natural timeline of events is another great way, a more conventional way of getting a large bump in your salary and just your career trajectory in general, is job hopping. So job hopping is exactly what it sounds like. It's going from your current employer to another employer, right? So we're going to talk about a little bit of the logistics of that, and then some important takeaways, like confidence level, looking at your resume, interviewing skills, research, things like that. So first things first, when you're deciding to move jobs, a very beneficial thing to do, both cash flow wise and honestly for attractiveness wise for yourself or other employers, is look for another job while you're currently employed. Now this is going to do two things for you. One, it's going to reduce your risk because you're going to still have your steady paycheck coming in from your job, right? So you're still able to eat while you're looking for a job. Two, it might take a little bit to find a new job. So you're not going to have to stress out because you still have your current job. And then three, when you are looking for a job and you're able to say to the people interviewing you, yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly hurting for this job. I'm just kind of seeing what's out there. That's gonna be a pretty big bargaining chip, because one, you can ask for more money because you don't necessarily need the job right now. Two, it shows that, hey, I am desirable. These other people, this other company is paying me for my services. Look what I can provide. Because honestly, when you're hiring somebody, especially in this job market, it's a pretty tight job market. So there's lots of companies willing to pay for talent right now. And so if you are interviewing and you don't currently have a job, that is a bit of a red flag. So it really plays from several different angles to be currently employed while you're looking for that next job opportunity. So after that, let's talk about actually applying to places. So how you apply to places, you got to have a solid resume. So what makes a solid resume? I want to be thorough. This seems obvious, but I am still shocked at how many times it's just an easy weed out, is basic grammar and spelling, y'all. It's one of those simple things like showing up to work on time, but it shows that you put in a bit of effort into this thing. So, just running a spell check, having a friend read over your resume, asking for feedback. But that's an easy weed out. When there are desirable positions out there, it's not uncommon to get dozens or 100 or 200 resumes. And it's just one of the easy weed out mechanisms is obvious spelling and grammar mistakes on there. So getting that out of the way, it's important to have your contact information on there. It's important to have an executive summary. What are you good at, right, in your executive summary? It's okay to say, this is what I do, and this is what I'm good at. It's also equally important to say this is what I like to do. This is what I'm passionate about in the workplace, right? For me, that means dealing with budgets and numbers and cost management because I like personal finance. Translates well over to business finance. But employers like to see that because they want employees who aren't going into the salt mines every day at work. They want you to be, relatively happy with what you're doing. So after that, it's important to have your work history, right? And have relative experience in your work history. So what that means is, if you're applying for the construction industry, well, working at Red Lobster isn't going to be the best use of the real estate on the page, right? Sometimes that's your only employment history, and that's fine then. But if you've had a couple of different jobs, right? If you've had 5 or 6 jobs, and that's your, one of the early ones in your career, well, it's probably a better use of the page to have that job fall off and then be more detailed in your job duties and responsibilities on the other jobs, right? It's also okay to tailor your experience within each job to what you think this role that you're applying for would be interested in, right? So if you were doing manufacturing, right, and you're doing a bunch of different things, you're tracking parts, you're tracking costs, you're tracking logistics, you're tracking staff, all these different types of things, well, it's okay to cherry pick and kind of lean all your job duties and responsibilities to what this new role would be about. So having 3, 4, 5 different versions of your resume for different types of positions that you're applying to is a very beneficial thing to do. If you have one general cookie cutter resume, that's fine, but it might not be the cream of the crop, right? Because the resume is basically just intended to get your foot in the door for the interview. Last thing on the resume at the very bottom is going to be your education, right? So that specific piece of advice is tailored for experienced people trying to move up in their career. Sometimes education is all you have, right? Sometimes it's your first job out of college, and it's important to put relevant classwork on there. But general rule of thumb is, the degree is great for your first job or two, but experience, in my opinion, is going to trump the degree 9 times out of 10. If I have somebody that's been working in the industry and in the same role that I'm looking for 4 years versus a 4-year fresh college grad with straight A's, well, I'm picking the experience just about every time. So just keep that in mind when weighing real estate on the page for job experience versus degrees. Okay, having gotten the resume out of the way, next thing to do is to talk about the interview. So let's say that you've submitted your resume and you've been selected for a first round interview. That's awesome, right? Congratulations. So this is going to be the next big step in this process. Is whenever you get an interview, you need to take it extremely serious, and you need to do a ton of preparation work for the interview. So the preparation work looks like learning the company's business, right? So what does the company that is interviewed do? What is their business model? How do they make money? More specifically, how are you going to make them money? Because every company on the planet hires people to make them money. That's what you're there for, is to make them money. So how can you help them make money, right? Understand the fundamentals of their business, right? It's really, really important. Then go deeper, look at their culture statement, look at their mission statement, look at what they value. Do they value people? Do they value, just horsepower? But try and understand what they're doing. If you can take it a step further, if you happen to know ahead of time, hey, who is interviewing me, right? Look at the Zoom or Teams invites. Who's attached on this email? Do you have a first and last name? Maybe take the time to look at their LinkedIn or Facebook. Try and see what school they went to, right? So if you can do all this background information, You might get the chance to crack a joke about, University of Texas versus Texas A&M and the rivalry there, but just something where you can be relatable in the interview is going to pay dividends for you. So be prepared in the interview. I'm thinking of my first job hop. I actually got the job. I'm like 80% sure I got the job because of one question, right? I did everything I was talking about. I was prepared for the interview. I understood the business. And the question was, what would you say is our biggest operating expense? And I was able to confidently say the answer, which was logistics. And I was correct. And that's because, one, I kind of understood what I was talking about. I knew the industry. And I understood the business model. I understood the fundamentals. But that was that particular interviewer's way of a peek behind the curtain into Brad. Hey, does this guy know what he's talking about? Or is he just really good at, blowing smoke and be able to come up with specific answers kind of off the cuff? So it's really important to be prepared. The other thing is confidence level. It's really important to be confident in these interviews, right? Think about body language, having open body language, having a good projection voice, but having confidence that you know what you're talking about is really important, especially when you get up into early middle management level positions. It's really, really important to have an air of confidence in your voice. So that might look like practicing interviewing questions in the mirror or with your spouse. But try and do your best to convey an air of confidence. So these are just a couple different tips to do it. And then, in today's world, there's often a second and third round interview. Same thing applies. Be prepared. Be more prepared for the second interview. Be more prepared for the third round interview. Because typically how it goes is there'll be a HR kind of generic recruiting staff person on the first interview. Then, if you go to a second round interview, that'll usually be people you're directly working with, or at least tangentially working with. And then third and final round interviews are with, usually executive leadership, depending on how high up you're being hired for. So this is lots of stuff to think about. But kind of in summary is there's a couple of different ways to get job promotions, and more specifically salary increases. We talked the last couple of videos about how to bluff your boss for a raise, but a more natural and conventional way to get a big raise is going to be through job hopping. And we talked a little bit about the timeline on that and the things required to job hop. So, but what do you guys think? Tell me about your experience with job hopping, how often you should do it, what are the important things to consider when job hopping. Let me know in the comments below. But this is what I wanted to talk about on Traffic Talk with Brad, and I will talk to you guys later.